it completely destroys the barriers of entry that are present in today's Hollywood. Like, you could be a brilliant filmmaker, just absolutely brilliant, but be undiscovered. And you just have to, again, you have to eat shit until you make it. You have to hope. You just fucking hope that like you get discovered. With a platform like this where you get to appeal to a massive audience, including, what ideally could be or would be industry behemoths like Paul Thomas Anderson, or I mean, because that's what the vision is. The vision is being able to intermingle everybody. But to have something like that, I mean, it would change the way movies are made forever.
Welcome back to Cool Hand Crypto, where cinema, culture, and crypto collide. I'm really excited to be talking to today's guest because when I first started hearing about crypto and DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, my mind immediately went to the film industry, the industry I work in. I adore cinema, I love filmmaking in Los Angeles and Hollywood, but there's insidious issues that continue to plague it. I certainly don't know all the solutions, but there's something about the way DAOs work that helps solve some of the gatekeeping problems and may at least be a part of the ultimate solution. Today, I'd like to introduce Avi Lieberman, co-founder of Muse DAO, self-titled as the world's first decentralized film financing and production platform. Avi, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to hear about your plans with this.
Thanks for having me, Matt. It's great to be here.
Let's start with what is a lite paper and what is a white paper?
So a lite paper is essentially it's an abridged version of your white paper. Your white paper, in most cases, should have, I shouldn't say as many details as possible, but by the time you are finished reading a white paper, you should understand the ins and outs, the processes that go on behind the scenes, essentially what makes the token actually move, why there's a reason for it. I mean, the white paper is usually for the big brains. The light paper is generally, like I said, an abridged version of that.
I read your light paper for Muse DAO. I thought it was great and really interesting. Maybe tell me a little bit about your journey into writing that. Did you write that yourself? Did you write that with a team? And what led you there to write it?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's predominantly me. I do all the writing for Muse DAO. I do all of our Medium articles. I handle our Twitter. But yeah, so the process for the light paper was quite a long one. It's gone through several iterations. I mean, looking back, the best way to explain it is a lot of hand cramps and not a lot of sleep.
In your brain, how did film and crypto combine?
Oh man! All right, so I've been in crypto since like the birth of DeFi. I've been in crypto since like I saw DeFi Summer. I was involved in tokens in DeFi Summer. I was here for the rise and fall of all the shit food coins. I personally am an actor and screenwriter. I do know and have realized, and something that is ubiquitous throughout those who are trying to make it, is that the saying is always the same. Whether you're an actor, whether you're a screenwriter, whether you're a director, even it doesn't really matter what you do. The sentiment is always the same, and it's that you eat shit until you make it. And so that's kind of where a lot of this for me came from. I mean, it was that coupled with in crypto, everyone's always talking about the tech. Everyone's always talking about what's the next thing that you can do with crypto. It's always about trying to break the game. And for me, I had this problem of trying to eat shit until you make it. And that's not even, considering all of the grotesque inefficiencies in the Hollywood, like in the movie making process. And I can go on in length about that, but you have all of these problems in the industry, and you have crypto, which is solving a ton of problems. Not, clearly not in Hollywood yet, um, but my idea was like, I can take crypto, I can use it to break the game and bring it into an industry that it's never been applied to before. And so that was kind of, I mean, it's been, probably took me months before I actually began to act on it, because it was something that I'd just been sitting on and thinking about for quite some time. Um, and so I, once I began, I like recruited a bunch of people that are living in LA and that, have a lot of connections in the film industry, and people who are working. And they loved the idea, and they hopped on board, and now we're like, in the process of, I mean, clearly building MDAO, but we're actually looking to build our own studio, and kind of have that mounted onto MDAO, um, you know, but not be necessarily beholden to it. Um, anyway, I guess I hope that answered the question.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Why don't you pitch to me Muse DAO and sort of the plans? If I was an investor, for example, what would you say to me to get me interested in Muse DAO? What is Muse DAO?
Sure. Well, you said the word investor, which I think is kind of important to delineate, or kind of important to, technically speaking, we can't have investors. Technically speaking, when you buy the token, because we're a DAO, we're a decentralized autonomous organization. We're a collective. We are, really, what we are is a decentralized financing and production platform. Um, and we have a ton of goals for the future, expanding out into other arts potentially, however long down the line, once we can nail down film. But the basic premise is, imagine, if you will, a essentially a central bank for film production, where anybody can come to the DAO, and whether it's some novice filmmaker who is looking for their big break, whether it's Denis Villeneuve, whether it's a team of token holders who love film and have been like, they found each other through the platform, and they're like, they share ideology and want to make something together. Anyone can come to the DAO, propose an idea in front of the DAO, and have it be voted on to be made. Um, and so that includes, though, it's like, if you come to the DAO and you have a pitch, you can say, I want, these people to make it, or I don't know who's going to make it, or whatever. You can just come to the DAO, and all of that will be worked out. But that's the idea, is that it's a central bank where essentially we give power to the creatives. And what's so brilliant is that we get to intermingle the audience with the creatives. If this is the first time that you're being exposed to Muse DAO, then you haven't heard the statistic before, and the statistic is approximately 6% of all Hollywood films make up 80% of all Hollywood's revenue, which means you've got a 6% hit rate, which is absolutely abysmal. And so if you were to take, the fact that there is the audience built into the DAO itself, you can gauge better metrics. You can gauge a better projection for, whether or not you have something good. I mean, the current Hollywood model is literally like, it's produce and pray. I mean, it's why you have so much rehashed IP. It's why Hollywood is averse to originality, because they're scared that an original concept isn't going to do well. It's why we have, I shouldn't say anything about what we have, right? I shouldn't name drop productions, but um, with this, where you intermingle the audience with the creative, you get an immediate gauge of a good concept or a shit concept. Um, and so that's at least the short to midterm goal. We want to get that up and running. I mean, we have plans for a metaverse. We have plans for digital premieres where you can log into Decentraland, or you can log into Sandbox. I think is the new one. You can log into any of them and step up, and we would have a theater, and it's a VR experience. And you can sit there and maybe you can toggle on or off the other people around you, and so you get to have that theatric experience where you're watching a movie with other people online, and you get to hear everyone's remarks. You get to hear, it's like if you've ever been to I'm not a huge fan of Marvel movies, but if you've ever been to like a Marvel premiere, like an opening, a night of, the energy is amazing. Like the energy is so much fun. And so if we can, kind of build that experience uh, in the metaverse for our own intellectual property. And when I say our own, I just mean the DAOs. I mean, again, anyone can come in. I think that would be magnificent.
I love this idea. So I had a friend on recently, Jeff Snyder, who's a film reporter, and he is very skeptical of all this stuff. I'm not. I'm really interested. That's why I started the show. But a lot of his questions do make sense, and the things we talked about were, with something like this, what are the mechanics? How do you make sure? How do you keep it decentralized while still making enough guardrails, enough rules, so that you don't nominate a terrible project with a terrible director and a terrible team that maybe the crowd does want, maybe the DAO does want, but it's doomed. It's doomed for one reason or another.
So that's a good question. That's a great question, and it's something that we are. I believe we have essentially a broad solution to, but it's something that is certainly going to need more fine tuning. But there are a number of safeguards in place, or theoretically in place, and the first of which is a form of voting where your voting power diminishes the higher the more amount of token you have. So it's called, I think, quadratic voting, because if you graph it, it's logarithmic. And so that's one way where a whale essentially can't come in and be like immediately demand that something be made and be able to sway.
Take over,
exactly.
Right.
The other thing is we want to make it so that and it's unfortunate to have to do this, but you must own a certain amount of the token before you're allowed to propose formally. So that's not to say that you can't have if you have like one token and you come in, you can still like approach the chat. You can still come up and be like, I've got this great idea. I want to hear what your guys' take is. I would love to get this made. You can still do that, but you cannot formally propose. You can't use our governance structures to make an actual proposal, which is then voted on. And so if the rest of the DAO jumps on and likes the idea, I mean, I think that's you said something which I think is kind of it's important to note, and it's that if if the DAO loves the idea, um, and there's overwhelming support, I mean, I think
With something like a film project, that's just step one, getting it, let's say, financed. And then you got to spend 3, 6, 9, 12 months actually getting this
yes,
made, promoting it, and selling it, distributing it, whether you do it internally or not. And so you would definitely, I would think you would want this set up in a way where you never know, but you're not going to have a Dogecoin type of movie, although now maybe a Dogecoin movie would be really good, but at the time, you never know. I don't know, but if let's say it was something even political, right or left wing political,
right.
that you didn't really want to get into or something like that.
So a number of things are like firing off in my head, and the first is that there are people like myself, there are people like my co-founder, there are people like the rest of the team really who can certainly serve as voices. We can come out and say, I think this is a terrible idea, and we can have that debate and essentially do our best to shut it down and persuade the rest of the DAO. But at the same time, and I hope I don't lose people when I say this, I mean, that's kind of the beautiful thing about a DAO is that, um, they have the freedom to make those kinds of mistakes, and make those
Sure,
kinds
sure.
of failed projects. And the thing is like, who knows?
Well, let's pause there for
Sure.
a second. What is the weight of your voices, of your voice and your team's voice? Obviously, you're the co-founder. Your team is creating this. You're putting up the guardrails. What do you say to someone who's going, I don't believe it. These guys are the leaders. These guys are the ones making the decisions. These guys are the ones who are gonna make or lose all the money. It's the same as a regular studio. How do you explain that this is not that this is different?
Well, I wish it were that easy. I mean, I wish it really were that easy. I mean, no. So the thing is, we are doing our best. I mean, we don't want to be classified as an SEC security. If we are classified by a security, if we are classified as a security by the SEC, we're fucked. And the thing is that if we were to engage in everything that that person is wary of, we're immediately security. I've been in contact with a number of people, who specialize in this kind of law, and our number one goal, and I have chat records to back it up. Our number one goal is to pass what's called the Bahamas Test. And the Bahamas Test, for those who aren't aware, is essentially if myself and my team were to take off to the Bahamas, could the coin run itself, or could the token run itself? And if that answer is no, then we have failed the Bahamas Test. And failing the Bahamas Test is a good it's a good benchmark to know if a token is a security. I mean, being a security helps nobody in this case. And I mean, philosophical.
What is the token called?
Muse, like it's called MDAO. I mean, we're Muse DAO.
MDAO is
Yeah,
the token.
but the token is MDAO. Also, philosophically, like that's not what I'm after. And you can choose whether or not to like believe me, right? Like anyone can say that and not be sincere. But like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say what I want to now, which is like, you think I want to fucking build this thing? Like no. Like the thing is, I just want this thing. I want this to exist because I think it's worthy of existence. But I do not want to build it. I don't like. It's much easier for me to just be a writer. It's much easier for me to pursue art. Like every day that I work on this thing, I am not working on art. And it honestly, like, it destroys me. But I'm building this thing because I want it to exist.
Let's say it passes the Bahamas Test, like you're saying, that it can sort of run itself. Is this still something that you could shut down? or is it at that point something that you couldn't shut down even if you wanted to? It's its own organism.
The latter. Yeah. Once we pass the Bahamas test, that's it. Like, um, it just goes. I mean, that's what I want. I want this thing to build itself. The thing is, the sooner that I can do less work, the better. Because then I can just again, I can fuck off. Um, if this thing builds itself and everyone is like going crazy about the potential prospects of like essentially it's one giant collective and platform that allows like you know it completely destroys the barriers of entry that are present in today's Hollywood. Like, you could be a brilliant filmmaker, just absolutely brilliant, but be undiscovered, and like, and you just have to again, you have to eat shit until you make it. You have to hope. You just fucking hope that like you get discovered. And with a platform like this where you get to appeal to a massive audience, including what ideally could be or would be industry behemoths like Paul Thomas Anderson, or I mean, because that's what the vision is. The vision is being able to intermingle everybody. But to have something like that, I mean, it would change the way movies are made forever.
Oh, I agree with you. I think it will change the way movies are made forever. So I really want this to be a resource, this conversation and these conversations to be a resource to people who are just getting into crypto and DeFi and blockchain and tokens. Most of my friends are in LA, filmmakers of some kind, working in the film industry, and they have no idea how this stuff works. No idea. So with that in mind, explain what is the token of MDAO? How is the MDAO token related to the DAO, Muse DAO? How do they interact with each other?
Oh, well, I mean, the MDAO token is just how you would vote. The MDAO token essentially, it acts as your voting power. So, if your vote is weighted against essentially all other tokens being used to vote, in most cases, with the modification of a quadratic formula. So, if you hold 10 tokens, then your vote is worth 10 token, is the amount worth like the power of 10 tokens. And so you're voting against, or voting against or with everyone else holding tokens. And it's kind of that simple. I mean, we also we've.
Is there a limited number of tokens?
Yes, we have a billion tokens. A billion tokens will be in circulation. That is the max supply. There is no more. It's just there is no minting function. That's it. A billion tokens.
Are the tokens like coins? Do they have value outside of voting, or no? It's really about it's really focused on the voting part of it.
So I mean, technically, I can't stop them from having a value. And based on the way that the market works, they will always be weighted against Ethereum. I mean, that is what happened with automated market making. When you supply liquidity, you pair ETH with whatever token, and then they're tied together. They're paired. So, I guess the short answer is yes, they will have a value. But again, for me, it's about governance. It's about making this thing. We will have also it's a governance vault. Well, so the basic tokenomics are essentially as follows. So you have your tokens, and the way that you vote. Again, as soon as the vault is set up, of course, you have your tokens. You deposit them into the vault. Then you essentially it allows for on-chain governance where you can vote with the tokens that are essentially staked. Now revenues from films that are made or NFTs that are sold, however revenues are made, they go into the treasury, and then the treasury uses a portion of those to buy back MDAO tokens from the market. The buybacks, then a portion of those are redistributed or dripped back into the governance vault. So the idea is that anyone who, if you bought 10 tokens and you're like, that's all I can afford, that's fine. Because you deposit it into the governance vault, and then the longer you stay staked and the longer you stay engaged, the more your governing power can grow, the more you get to have a say in what gets made. And so that's like the basic tokenomics structure.
Is the mechanism for the actual conversation of let's say I have tokens and I want to pitch a project, or I want to comment on a project or something, is that all through Discord, or is there some other platform or some other way of having that conversation?
We want to establish forums because forums are far more structured. That would be for formal kind of formal conversations. Of course, if you come to the Discord and you have a project and you pitch the project and it gets momentum, people are like, I love this idea. Then I would say, all right, now put it to the forum so that we can get an official, real, organized debate. And then from there, depending on how it goes, if the person who posted to the forums has the proper token allotment, or owns the right amount of tokens, then they can just take it to an actual a real vote. And that would be done either through, to start, we may just do some snapshot voting. But again, the idea would be on-chain governance, would be actually essentially programming it in, at least as far as I understand it. What's so magnificent about DAOs is that, if the DAO is at any point look, this forum board isn't working for us, we want to hold actual online Zoom meetings, who am I to say no? If the DAO votes, the DAO votes. Again, we will have Byzantine, measures to prevent Byzantine actors from coming in, but generally speaking, yeah, it's kind of it's not up in the air, but we have ideas, we have infrastructure that we're building out. But if at any point down the line the DAO, would prefer to do it another way, then we have those discussions and we have those votes.
Maybe this is a bad analogy, but when this is up and running, do you and your team kind of turn into the janitors of the DAO, in the sense that you are there to clean it up and you're there to help make sure that these things happen, or host a forum, but it's up to the DAO to make those decisions. Is that right?
To an extent. So part of passing the Bahamas Test is, janitors is a good way to put it, but also it's really just that our roles kind of they slim down into being specific. So it's no longer about power; it's more so about fulfilling a specific duty. So we will have maybe one of us will just ease down to some kind of moderation, in terms of moderating, Discord or discussions or whatever. It really, that's a hard, I guess, largely speaking, generally speaking, yes. But it's a bit reductive to, I don't want people to take that away as okay, yeah, we're just janitors now. It's kind of something that we will solve as time goes on. But yeah, we as the DAO develops, we lose power, which is completely intended, and our roles just become specific. And also, we largely will actually pivot to creation, where we'll be, working on this studio that's being built, and kind of just making movies and being creative and then pitching those to the DAO. I mean, that's, it's actually quite a selfish endeavor, building this thing, because it's like, well, now I get to make whatever I want and pitch to the DAO and hope they like it.
Is there a world, and hopefully they will like it, is there a world where you pitch to the DAO and they don't like it and you don't get things made? And I only ask because I want to know if it's like, well, no, I'm still the co-founder, I can do whatever I want, or no, yeah, the DAO could say no.
No, I mean, if the DAO says no, like that's it. Like if the DAO says no, like I can sit there and I can be like, but guys, like please. But if I don't get the votes, I don't get the votes. Like that's how it works. That's fine. I mean, if I'm looking for any kind of like fame, I guess, or whatever, it's like, then I'm the guy, I guess, who made the thing. So I have a reputation, I guess.
You said that as the DAO develops, you and your team start to lose power. Can you describe that a little more? How does that work?
With a DAO, I mean, it's decentralized and autonomous. And so really that's what we're building towards. We're building towards autonomy. We're building towards decentralization. And right now, like we're doing our best to not be centralized now. But really it comes down to onboarding new members, and really sharing. It's about sharing power. It's about the power, the power that I have. I'm making, certain executive decisions to try and just get us off the ground. I'm writing Medium articles to I'm establishing infrastructure and then disseminating information out to people so that they can understand the infrastructure. But as the DAO builds, eventually I'm not going to be the one I'm not going to be the only one making the infrastructure. It'll be other people who are like, who hear my ideas and they're, maybe I've brought them on, or maybe, hopefully, in the near future, they're elected. That's what we want to move towards is some kind of, I mean, really it's a democratic process. It's an election process where someone is, they have a desire for a specific position, a specific role, and they approach, maybe not that they approach the DAO, but the DAO is like, we have an opening, we need someone to fill this position. And then the DAO gets to vote on candidates who want to take that position. Now, I guess to explain the loss of power process, I mean, really, God, this is going to be so cliche, but with great power comes great responsibility. I don't want responsibility. All right. I do not want it. Like I would much rather sit, in my house in the dark writing. I would like, so the sooner I can offload my responsibilities onto somebody else, the happier I'm going to be. I don't want the power. I do not want it. The process, I guess, is just going to be kind of just a different form of what it is now, which is DAO onboarding. If you're watching this and you want to help build the DAO, please, please reach out to me, because it is less things that I have to do. And I'll give you a role, whatever you feel you're strong, your strengths are in. We'll give you a role. I mean, that's so down the line, it's just gonna be more of that. It's gonna be more fine-tuned. It's gonna be more structured. It's gonna be a better version of what it is now, which is just kind of breaking pieces off of what my role is and giving it out to people.
Other than being excited about film and Muse DAO, is there an incentive for people to come and get in early and help out now and get involved? What would the incentive be, other than just loving the idea?
That's a great question. I mean, again, I can't promise returns as a DAO. It's not. I can't call this an investment. It's not supposed to be an investment. Um, but I can say that if you get in now, well, first of all, we have equity to give to people because we're doing this with zero capital. And so the idea is simply, if you come in, you put in the work, we'll give you tokens. We'll just give them to you. Um, and, if they have a value down the line, again, I can't control that. If they have a value down the line, then maybe I don't know. I can't say those things. I don't want to promise anything. Um, but also, the sooner you get into, if we have a governance vault set up, then the sooner you get into the governance vault, the faster your governing power is going to increase. And if the tokens are cheap in the beginning, then being a token holder comes with perks. Being a token holder comes with things like free digital premieres, comes with things like potential for free merchandise, signed merchandise, cast and crew meet and greets. If anyone has ever wanted to be an extra in a movie or a TV show, there are those potential opportunities by being a token holder. So we have perks, and if they are cheap, when we first start, then maybe that's some kind of opportunity. I don't know if I can say that. I'm not promising anything. As far as returns or investing or value goes, that's not what I'm here to do.
What is lore?
Oh man. So lore is like so currently for the general premise of lore is I don't know if I should start with loot because that's what like it was inspired by. But lore is essentially it's the build out of a world. It's with loot, we had these like it was essentially concept art or conceptual art. You had like this inventory of these cool items like cloak of the holy fox or whatever, and people's imaginations were running wild. And I saw that like in all these discords, people were writing lore for the loot. And so what we've decided to do is essentially just make those as NFTs. It is being able to buy a piece of lore. Really, it's you buy a piece of writing and you get to sit there and read it. And you know, as a writer, what I love about writing is that if it's done well, it is perfect in your head. You read a book and it's like watching a movie in your head. It's perfect in your head. And so that's kind of what we want to do with lore. It's the build out of a world, and you get to, just let your imagination run wild with the world that's being built. I mean, that's the thing. Is like the fact that they just exist and you can sit there and read them. You don't even have to buy them. You just sit there and read them, and I sincerely hope that that people just at least do that. That people just sit and read the fucking things. I didn't even write them. They're not my writing. They're our co-founders' writing. But I'm a huge fan of his work. Personally, I'm not just saying that as his friend. I think he's like seriously one of the best writers I've ever met. But that's the idea of lore.
When you go to musedao.org, this is lore. This is what I'm looking at, right? Is these different? I'm on your musedao.org and I'm seeing the High Ministry and the Sovereign Legion. This is lore.
Yeah, that's lore, man.
And these are available for purchase as NFTs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that related to Muse DAO, or is that just a separate project?
Oh no, that's related. So that is actually a world that our co-founder is building. That is the world of Black Crown. So in this specific instance, it's lore Black Crown. because it's the lore of Black Crown. And Black Crown is it's a two-part epic. It is at least as it stands. That's been written by our co-founder, and so we are essentially. I mean, really, the dream is to make a metaverse. You know, the plan is to make a metaverse out of Black Crown. Um, it's a high concept fantasy sci-fi two-part epic, and I mean, the guy's a genius. I don't even. Um, but yeah, so the idea in with lore is that you would be able to if you own a piece of lore, it will entitle you to you know digital premieres from Muse DAO in the future. Um, I mean, as far as perks go, but you can also just sit there and read them.
Is there a certain type of um, creativity you're trying to curate? A certain type of genre or anything? Or no, not necessarily.
I mean, with curated, that's kind of our the thing is that what Muse DAO really is, the emphasis in film is simply because we know film. The emphasis in film is because that's what our team is built for. Um, and because it's like that's where I noticed that's where I noticed where most of the inefficiencies were that the DAO structure and crypto can really rectify. Um, but with curated with the long-term vision, I mean the ultimate vision that I have for this thing is like being able to do something similar for studio art, for music, for I mean any artist really, or any kind of art. And so with curated, the idea is that I want to showcase artists. I want to showcase up and coming, lesser known artists, and utilize the MDAO audience and be like, hey, like here's some really good work that you know I'm a fan of, and the team is a fan of, and ideally down the line, I want the Muse DAO community to be a part of curated too, where they get to find artists and you know they can propose that their art be added to curated, and that it acts as we get to act as a not a museum, but a we get to shed light on artists who have great work but just aren't getting enough attention. And so it doesn't matter what kind of art. If it could be writing, it could be anything. It's Muse DAO curated, man. Um, if it's good and we like it, we'll post it.
For people who are trying to build communities similar to yours, what advice, what channels, what platforms do you recommend?
I mean, you got to be on Twitter. Twitter is where like the conversation is. That's where the memetics evolve. Is Twitter. That's where you're gonna find the the most current conversations. I mean, that's where information moves. That's where they're channels of new information. Discord for where you kind of like want to isolate and kind of get your community involved with itself. Telegram is a similar thing, but Telegram is a bit more disorganized. It kind of just there are no channels. It's just you got one Discord room and everybody talks there. You need your Medium. Your Medium is going to be where like it's for your big brains. It's for you can sit there and you can break things down and like have people read them. And then you can have corresponding infographics that you can then put out to Twitter. You can have the stuff that's easy to digest out to your biggest audience in Twitter. You can have your mediums for people who are who really want to dive in. And if you're thinking about doing something like this, I'm gonna be honest, prepare just for a lot of work. You're looking at sometimes 11, 14-hour days, hand cramps, carpal tunnel. If you need some physical therapy exercises for your hands, I got you. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of sleepless nights. Um, just stick with it. Keep your head down.
Tell people who love this idea of Muse DAO, where do they go? What do they do? How do they get involved?
People are Twitter at Muse. What is it? Muse_DAO. Muse DAO. If you look for us, we'll come up. You join our Discord. We've got links on our Twitter. We've got a Medium. It's pretty sure just Muse_DAO. MuseDAO.org for now. We got MuseDAO.com. I just gotta mess around with the domains. Link them up. We've got a new website coming, but for now, MuseDAO.org. You can get links to our Twitter just straight from there. You can get links to our Disc. You get a Telegram getting set up, because I know people like Telegram.
Awesome. Well, Avi, thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck with Muse DAO. I think it's a really interesting concept, and certainly something, these kind of ideas are what Hollywood needs. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thanks, man. Yeah, me too. Seriously, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.